Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here to celebrate contributions in science, technology, engineering, and math, and especially to lead a conversation about the contributions of women in those fields. I'm Dr. Crystal Dilworth. I'm a molecular neuroscientist and a science communicator. And also, you might know me as Dr. Brain on the Saturday morning CBS show Mission Unstoppable. I'm here with three other incredible women in STEM, and they've graciously agreed to share their stories and discuss how women can all work together to move forward in science, technology, engineering, and math. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they're all really amazing. And so, Soni, why don't you take it away?
Hello, I'm Soni Kaur. I actually probably relate myself as a martial arts enthusiast before I turn into a project manager. I'd say that's probably where I start off. I have nearly a decade of experience in delivery of rail system integration projects. And I help Hitachi Rail's customers meet their vital safety requirements in the transportation business, moving passengers safely through the urban and suburban communities, as well as support freight customers with the safe movement of goods. Highlight of my experience has been, delivery of business critical projects where we delivered a world's first fully driverless freight train, as well as first communication-based system using satellite for train localization in the remote region of Western Australia. Moving on, coming from Western Australia into the US, we have recently gone through a safety certified system for the Positive Train Control Project in PTC, which is based in Boston, Massachusetts. So in a nutshell, now I'm currently working, and I think this is going to be my most challenging project. It's an upgrade to BART system in San Francisco, and we are increasing the frequency of trains, and passenger capacity in the most heavily trafficked area, say within the BART system. In a nutshell, that's me.
Well, as someone that grew up in the Bay Area, I'm very grateful that the BART system is going to be getting an upgrade and that you are working on it. Lisa, do you want to go next?
Sure. So hello, I'm Lisa Bain. I'm a mechanical engineer and I work as a engineering manager at Aerojet Rocketdyne. And my team, they design combustion devices for rocket engines, so igniters and injectors and gas generators and nozzles, and they go on rocket engines that go into space. So it's a really cool job. I'm really excited about it. I'm also a mother of 3 daughters who also have STEM careers. So I'm really excited to be here and answer your questions about women in STEM.
You're literally nurturing the next generation of STEM.
Literally.
I love it. Shalini.
Hi there, my name is Shalini. My education and background is in biomedical engineering. And, since graduating from school, I have tried a lot of different areas in the corporate world. And I'm currently working as a business analyst in information systems for Amgen. And if you haven't heard of Amgen, we make, therapeutic drugs in about 4 different therapeutic areas, so cancer, neuroscience, cardiovascular diseases. So it's kind of a large portfolio, and we make drugs for, grievous illnesses within those. And more specifically, my role as a business analyst, I work on creating innovative technology solutions for complex scientific problems. So specifically, we work with our, research groups, people that are conducting the experiments in the drug discovery phase, helping support, their technology needs in terms of capturing the data that's generated. I have several hobbies. I'm a scuba diver. I'm an advanced open water certified. I live in Florida, taking full advantage of my geography. I'm really big into gardening, traveling, and really just exploring the world in any medium that I can get myself trained into. If I could, I would be an astronaut. I really want to, just do everything I can to learn as much as possible about this world, beautiful world that we live in, because it's really fascinating to me.
I always think that one of the great things about STEM is that it can be sort of a universal language, like the way that the global community of scientists understands the universe really can be a type of common ground that we can all find. But sometimes it takes a while for us to find our way to that community. So I'd love it if each one of you could share sort of like that eureka moment when you kind of knew STEM was for you. For me, I kind of had two. I was always interested in people. People are really weird. Their behavior seems really difficult to explain. So I kind of always had an interest in the brain and how it contributed to like the weirdness of the human experience. But it wasn't until I was an undergrad working in a research lab and seeing the teamwork and the camaraderie and the collaboration and the way that everybody was bringing their own intellectual strengths to the table that I really said, okay, I want to go to graduate school. I want a PhD and I really want to be a scientist. So whoever wants to jump in first to share, please do. Did you have a moment like that?
I'll speak first if you don't mind. So I was like you, Crystal. Actually, I really thought people were interesting, and I actually started down the path of psychology, and got a psychology degree first, and was going to go on to grad school. Got a job in an engineering company, and that's where I really discovered that I liked solving technical problems. And so they actually gave me that work to do, and that's when I decided to go back to school to get an engineering degree. So
I think we need more people that understand the complexity of people helping to solve technical problems. That's a personal opinion, but
I think it helps. I do. I think it helps.
Yes.
I think that degree helps me in my job. I definitely think.
So I'd go second. I had joined engineering initially to break the whole stereotype, women in engineering. So I had between my circle of friends, there were none that were doing engineering at that time. So I was like, hey, listen, I'm going to go first. I'm going to, make a difference. So my eureka moment actually did not come till the last year of my undergrad degree. I had taken up a huge task. My thesis was around a new innovation within the electrical industry. And I was in this room full of like prestige scholars, wanting to hear how I did my final year project. And I was like, hey, I can do this. I got it. That was for me. That was at least for me.
That's amazing. I'll go next. So I think for me, my eureka moment was earlier. So I'm actually a first-gen immigrant. I moved from India when I was 12. And, as if being a teenager isn't hard enough on its own, a lot of things changing, moving to the other side of the world in a completely different hemisphere was definitely adding a more complexity to that challenge. And for me, it was, I think around high school is when, I was just kind of struggling to fit in. There's just, I felt like I didn't belong. It was very hard. And for me, it was the first thing that I connected with during that time was the science subjects. That I was kind of, I found a place for me. There's a lot of places I feel like I shouldn't be in, but this was like, it made sense to me. Like you said, Crystal, earlier, it was, I was seeking to understand so many things at that time. And science was something, the subjects within that I was enrolled in was like, okay, this makes sense. And the other big eureka moment for me to support that was, my great grandmother, she lived to be over 100 years old. I think she was like 105 years old when she passed away. And there was an observation that I made that, I do notice her having sauteed garlic with every meal that we served to her. So I just became curious. It's like, did that have something to do with maybe her elongated life? And that turned into a science fair project for me. So I investigated the antibacterial properties of, and antifungal properties of garlic. And by the way, I found garlic is great for you. Please keep eating it. And that, it went past the school fair and went into the state fair. And I won a couple of awards, and that's kind of when I knew that someone like me who doesn't have the answers to a lot of the questions that I have can be the person to find the answers and provide that to the community. So I think that for me was that, maybe I should pursue something in science. Like, this is something I can do as well.
I think that's an amazing example of why we need diverse contributions to the pursuit of science, technology, engineering, and math, because who we are and where we come from and the personal experiences that we have definitely influence the questions that we ask, and the way that we go about answering them. But Shalini, I'm going to throw another question back to you. Was there a particular mentor or sponsor that you worked with or that inspired you, that really kind of helped you get on the path to professional scientist? Because science interest and profession are two different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not one single person, to be honest. I am a firm believer in, like, you are the CEO of your life. You can hire and fire a board of mentors, and you let them, I had a lot of diverse inputs. I talked to engineers. I talked to people that were in med school. I talked to people that were doctors. Like, it was like me going around interviewing people for information, basically, and the group of people change, right? You are your CEO, so you get to decide. You can have a lot of inputs, and I did just that, and I continue to do that. I always seek diverse input. Like, I'm thinking about doing this. Use people as a soundboard. This is what I'm thinking. What can you tell me that I haven't thought about? What is your opinion? And you kind of take that. You take all of their inputs, and then you decide for yourself, because this is your journey. And to be completely honest, none of my friends from high school went to my engineering school. Everybody kind of fled to the liberal arts, college. And I was actually one of the only ones that, went to the engineering school that I chose to go to. And then I kind of had to start over with, my friends and building a community from scratch, basically. So it was all the inputs that I took. It was tempting to just kind of follow a group of people that, you already are used to, but I'm really glad I didn't do that, because I'm really grateful for the path that I chose, because it really did influence me in becoming who I am today, and I'm really proud of that.
I love that you didn't have one mentor or sponsor, you had a committee. I really like that. Sony, what about you? Was there one person that really believed in you that kept you going, or did you have a committee too?
Well, I'd say that, I looked around mostly within my organization, within Hitachi. We had, few women who actually won this particular back in Australia, who she was leading a really complex project. And, having seen her gone through the work actually gave me, a feeling of, listen, this could be something that I could fast into becoming a project manager. So I started off as an engineer, and now I'm, delivering projects, which is not where I wanted to be, I'd say, probably originally, but now I would not have anything else, any other way. I have similarly, I think I looked at both on the client side. I've been fortunate enough to have mentors both from internal organization as well as on the client side, where the way they deal their day-to-day, the way they function within, how they see problems, how they solve problems, one way, indirectly has impacted me in a positive way, I'd say.
So sort of role models. You can see the things that you want to emulate and the things that you really don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Lisa.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I definitely have collected a lot of mentors over the years, and I think it's important to to always kind of look for things that you need to work on, and then look for mentors to help you with that, whether it be presentation skills or leadership skills or technical skills. and just make as many find as many resources as you can. I love that CEO of your life. Can I use that?
I'm gonna steal that too.
Yeah. But also, and then when you learn something, reach back and pull somebody else up, be a mentor to somebody else, as soon as you can in as many ways as you can. I think that's really important too. So that's been very fulfilling for me too. And I run a mentoring program for my department now, just because I think mentoring is really important.
Yeah, I didn't have like one sponsor or one mentor, but there was in that research lab that I worked in as an undergrad, it was mostly men, male, principal investigator, male postdocs, male graduate students, but the lab manager was a woman, and she was from the Czech Republic, and she ruled with an iron fist and such style. She would come in, her hair done, lipstick on, scarf, high heels. She'd go into her office and come out like it was Superman's telephone booth. Hair back, lab coat, clogs. She would do her work and she'd go back into her office, put on a fresh coat of lipstick and be gone, to have dinner with her husband. And the grad students were so scared of her because she was such a good manager and such a good scientist. And when I got into grad school, I had a conversation with her and I was like, I'm really worried that I'm not going to fit in to science. Like I like clothes and I like makeup and that's not a thing that scientists are supposed to like. Like, how did you do it? How are you yourself and in science? And she was like, girl, it's not about that. It's about what are you interested in and, following your interest and your passion. And other people are going to have opinions about you no matter what you choose to do. So you might as well choose to do what you're interested in and what you're good at. And it was such a simple answer, but it really made me feel like, okay, I can go to grad school, I can be a scientist, I can do this, and I think for everyone in this conversation, we've all had the experience of being the only woman in the room, the only woman in the lab. So what is that like for you guys? Lisa, maybe you want to take this first.
Yeah, I will say, recently I just see that changing a lot, and I'm happy to see that. But when I first started, I felt awkward in that, looking back on it, it might have been more my self-confidence. But it didn't take long at all before I don't even notice it at all anymore. It's, we're a bunch of engineers, we're there to solve a problem, and gender has nothing to do with it. And so it really, it's come a long way, and it really didn't bother me very much at all at first.
Shalini, what about you?
Yeah, so definitely have been in that situation time and time again. I went to an engineering school and I work in information technology. So there are many times, more times than I'd like to be when, I am either the only one or a very underrepresented group. And I think, that is how it goes. That shouldn't stop you from contributing your best ideas forward. Right? So just because that is the case, it doesn't mean you're worth any less or that your ideas are any, poorer than if that wasn't the case. So I think it took me some time to realize that, because it feels uncomfortable. It feels like you don't belong there, and it just kind of naturally comes about. I think you just really have to remind yourself that your value and contribution are just as good, and if not anything, have the courage to speak up and state them confidently. There's a lot of ways you can work on that, to work on that inner confidence, despite how you feel in the moment in these groups. The power of body language, the power of just reflect and think about what you bring to the table and believe in yourself, and do it anyway.
Sunny.
I say for me, I think seconding to what Lisa's saying, things have changed a lot in the last, I'd say, good part of 5-6 years. But when I started in this industry, I always felt intimidated being in a room full of men, where often more than less, where you are not heard. You just feel it's unheard now situation that I'm in is everything that I say is amplified. So you've gone from a situation of not being heard to now in another situation with anything that you say, any word that come up from your mouth is going to be amplified. So it's really important how you carry yourself and how you, create a positive situation out of a negative, really. So that has been my experience lately.
So I'll ask the next question to you as well, Sunny, because I think it's a really good add-on from your answer. When is being a woman sort of a superpower in your job and in your field? When do you feel like it's an advantage?
So for me, and I apply this in my day-to-day life. Like I deal with, my colleagues, my friend, they are more my friends, I'd say, So I find that women has a really strong power in terms of, empathy. So you have empathy, you understand how to, communicate with your colleagues, whether it could be a personal matter, it could be a work-related matter, but you would be able to help them, at a person. Not that you have to. It's not part of your job description. You do it because you want to. You make that a better place to work. Make it a situation where a colleague can reach out to you at a personal level and still have. I find in that time frame, generally people deliver better projects because they feel that they're heard, they feel they're part of a family, and I think that's for me has been a superpower.
Lisa, what about you?
I would agree with Sony, and also I think being able to multitask and the skills I learned as a mother also definitely helped me at work, especially as a manager. Definitely the empathy, and also sort of being a coach, like I was for my children, just sort of a life coach and understanding where they're coming from. So I think definitely that there's advantages to being a woman at work.
I find this question a little harder to answer, because perhaps because every single person, no matter how you relate, whether it's a man or a woman or something else, you have the ability to bring a lot of impact to any situation you're in. Perhaps societal pressures in the past have kind of or stereotypes have led to different opportunities and a different skill set and inequality in general. But I think we just need to start seeing people for who they are and everything that they are, and what they can bring to the table to bring that superpower of their own individually to the group. And things like empathy, compassion, being authentic, these are factors that can enable anyone to become a superhero and bring that great power to the team.
Oh, that's such a great answer. And I think, to kind of add on to that a little bit, the importance of having a diverse team, to collaborate, to answer a question. I mean, coming from neuroscience, we do a lot of our behavioral experiments in mice, and usually it's only male mice. So the data that we have really is quite gendered, and it's only now that we're starting to understand that that's, we have a great model for male mice, but that, we're not actually including the entire picture of mouse behavior or of human behavior. And I think we see the medical field as well, realizing that the lack of representation in the people that are studying medicine actually means that there's holes in our understanding. And so I think that is one of the major benefits of having many different types of people from different backgrounds. To kind of expand on the need for different backgrounds and different experiences in the table, I think that there's this myth that everybody gets to professional science career in a certain way, like you are on the honors track in high school, you go to a name brand for your university, you get your recommendations from your professors, and then you go on to your career, and that it's quite linear and you just kind of follow the steps. But I think that this group knows that that's not really. I don't know any single person that got into science that way. I mean, I had a career as a professional modern dancer before I went to graduate school. You know, this is not usually included on the normal pathway to STEM. So Shalini, do you want to maybe share some of the unconventional steps that your path to STEM took?
Absolutely. I mean, like you mentioned, my path has been anything but linear. And I'm not really sure like who is linear, because, you know, when we think about career paths and, you know, all the advice that you get is you do this first and then this and this. And it's just like, great. I honestly couldn't get that when I was there. So I actually had to try a lot of different things. And I think in general, I think we're living in a really fascinating time, and I'm genuinely excited about it. You know, there's just the access to information, you know, anything you want to learn. So I really encourage people to just kind of follow what they're curious about, you know, and not really worry about the you know, linear line that they're trying to draw that really shouldn't be linear. Because, you know, so at least in my experience between my hobbies and even my professional roles, like I've worked in the automotive industry, I've worked in a clinical research firm, you know, I've worked in consulting. So, you know, naturally, I just kind of got an exposure to so many different things that I honestly didn't plan for, but they really did expand my perspective and even my skills. So there were still skills that were transferable that I was building on during these, you know, diverse experiences. So I really do firmly believe that you can learn from everything and everyone. So choose them wisely, but really stay authentic to yourself. If you're curious about a certain field or a certain firm, there's a lot of ways to, you know, be a part of that. And I fully encourage people to see how they can do that. Like, you know, hit up somebody, you know, ask them for an informational interview just to learn about what they're doing, how they're doing, so that can, you know, help your perspective and expand it. So yes, my path has not been linear. I've been all over the place, and I'm all the more grateful for it because it really helped me become who I am today.
Thank you for sharing that. Lisa, what about you?
Oh, definitely not linear. Yeah, just you know, started out in education, switched to psychology, graduated in psychology, then went back to school for engineering. So I guess the thing to stress is you can change your mind, you know, as you find out things. And you know, just for, you know, my daughters as examples, one knew in 6th grade she wanted to be an architect and never swayed from that. And but then the other two were more unsure, you know, and went into kind of general science degrees, and then worked for a while, and then went back to grad school in something specific. So once they got some experiences and decided what they want to do. So I think there's a lot of pressure on young people to, you know, to decide early and know what you want to do. And you know, I'm perfect proof you can always change your mind.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think sometimes, especially like in elementary, middle school, we encounter this weird idea that you have to choose, like, are you a science person or are you not a science person? And for me, always being a dancer and interested in the arts, but also, you know, good at and interested in science, that was always like really upsetting that I had to divide myself and then choose which half of myself I wanted to develop further. And then of course, as an adult, I learned that that's not necessary at all. Sunny, the martial arts enthusiast.
Oh, yeah. So I started off as a, you know, I kind of knew I was not going to make a career out of martial arts. You know, it's just a constant failing. Like that's, I think has, you know, probably for me, it made me who I am, right? Because martial arts, there is, you fail a lot more than you succeed. So, you know, there's so many different things that I've actually pulled out of martial arts, right? Career linear, to be honest, the linear path in career for me, I did my certificate in engineering first. So I didn't really go into, because I, you know, did the whole, you know, situation of applying into universities. I did not get through the first time round. So I actually went through a certificate path. And that landed me a job as a quality assurance manager, far from, you know, where I am today. I was in a production environment, manufacturing. And now I'm sitting here, you know, I've obviously just gone through my degree and had my technical role, and now a project manager in the US. And I mean, how I never would have thought I would have been here. But on the other side, an opportunity came across and you just take it, you just present it by itself, and I think that's the best, I suppose, approach, so not have everything written in stone for you.
Yeah, I think that it can feel a lot more secure to have this idea that there really is a stepwise process, and if you complete the steps, then you'll get to where you want to go. But I think there's a lot more richness in the experience of just running the experiment. Like, am I interested in this? Let's invest some time and find out. And there's so much pressure on us when we're young to choose what we're going to be when we grow up. I think that if we can start to expand our idea of the, what childhood and early adolescence really should be, and allow ourselves to explore and not have to choose an identity right away, maybe we'll be a lot happier with our adult choice. I mean, I'm happy with mine, but I know a lot of adults that don't seem happy with theirs. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Well, we're getting to sort of the end of our time, so I would love if every one of you could kind of share maybe some last thoughts on what can people that are excited about STEM, interested in STEM, what can girls, women that are interested in being involved with STEM maybe do to connect and to give themselves their best chance of finding their nonlinear path through or to STEM. Lisa, do you want to take it first?
Sure. I would say, observe people in their jobs. And if you're interested, you want to find out more, contact people in that field and get information, get mentors, and find out all you can about those careers.
Shalini?
Next, yeah. So I think one of the most inspiring quotes, profound quotes that I came across around this was, there's two most important days in your life. The first one is the day you're born, and the second one is the day when you find out why. So I definitely encourage people to be in the pursuit of finding your calling and your why for your life, and just explore, invest the time and find out what you like, because it's not all going to come to you in one day. So it's very much a journey without a destination, and you just keep getting better and better idea of what you are and what you like, and let that guide you to find what you should do.
Sunny?
I'd say, reach out, right? Like, I think we are always, like, for me personally, I was afraid to reach out to anybody, really, my peers, my colleagues, my friends, professionals that were in the engineering industry. And it would have really helped if I would have gained or crossed that bridge earlier. As you would see what they go through on a day-to-day basis, what issues they are facing. How can I, is it even me? Can I even take this? And, it's always, without reaching out, I don't know how, anyone can make such an important decision, really. Like, STEM is a huge industry, whether it's an engineering, on the engineering aspects, which is where I come from, but you guys, from the science aspects, it is, I'd say from a younger generation, it's difficult, but to be honest, I think we are in this day and age now that things are a lot accessible. Like, you can now reach out, you have all this social media, and, things are a lot easier right now than they were in the past.
Yeah, I think that's very true, and with social media now, it's a lot easier to reach out. Send someone an Instagram DM, and find scientists that work in the field that you think that you're interested in, on their social media, because we're out there, and that's a great way to kind of know what's available. Well, thank you guys so much thank you women so much for being here and for contributing to this conversation. I know that we could continue to talk for a really long time, but hopefully we did a good job of kind of at least sharing some of our personal experiences as women in STEM. And I hope that those of you out there that are watching this have a wonderful day, and that you continue to enjoy this city of STEM. And that's it from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.